Welcome into a casual check-in. It's your boy Humza. Obviously, we had a great slate of playoff games last night. Obviously, we're gonna get straight into it. I'm a Wolves fan. We gotta start it off with the best game of the night. Well, you could say both games were pretty great games, the Nuggets and the Knicks game. But we're gonna start off with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. Just an absolute dogfight. What we expected from this series. Denver goes up 1-0. First game in Denver, second game in Denver. Nuggets go up 19 points, and Minnesota finds a way to come back because that's what that's what we do. With the Timberwolves, we find a way to come back. And we're gonna get into some key points in the game. Obviously, we'll start with that 19-point comeback. I think at the start of the second quarter, the Nuggets were up 39-25. And then they start the second quarter, hit 4 straight points or something, and they go up 19. Then from there, guess what? Anthony Edwards is out the game. Bones Highland comes in. Wolves get a little bit of spark off the bench with Ayo DeSumo. Naj Reid played pretty well. More of his points came in the fourth quarter, which we'll get into. But I thought Chris Finch did a great job putting the right guys in, hitting the right buttons there. Had a couple stints. The Wolves needed offense. And then I think he did a great job of kind of figuring out what really worked and what didn't in that second quarter, get them back in the game, because then they went on a 39-25 run in that quarter. At one point, they were down 19, and obviously they went up 8, and then Denver went on an 8-0 run to tie it at the end of the quarter. So obviously they went in halftime tied. But I just want to say this was a great game from the starters. You got a great Anthony Edwards game, 30 points, 10 rebounds, had a couple blocks, did a great job. I thought protecting the rim a little bit, being the help side defender a few times. And that's what you need. Obviously, he's on one leg, or what they say, he's got runner's knee. So it's going to be really tough for Ant. Obviously, you want to see him hit his step back threes. You want to see him. He's still been a little rusty. He hasn't played in meaningful basketball in a couple months. They said, I think this is only his 5th game back since March 15th or something. And that's just a long time without playing, high paced basketball. And then let alone the fact this is playoff atmosphere. You got two teams that hate each other, which we'll get into even more, a little bit more drama here. But I thought it was great showing by Ant. Julius Randle, you needed this from Julius Randle. 24, 9 rebound, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. That's a really great game from Julius Randle. And I thought, obviously, all the starters played well. You got Dante DiVincenzo played great. He had a couple hustle plays. He even had a couple plays last game that, obviously didn't end up being a win, but he made the most of it. He was one of the ones. Him and Rudy are the two players you know 100% you're going to get great effort. No matter what, even if, they're slumping, even if, they're pouting a little bit, they might make a couple boneheaded plays here and there, but they're going to give you the great effort. Dante did a great job last night. I think he had, 16 points. He had that big 3 in the slot in the fourth quarter. I think that put the Timberwolves up 4. When Denver was kind of reeling back in to kind of, take the lead back from Minnesota once they got up. And then Rudy was just amazing. Obviously the box score doesn't show him blocking shots, doesn't show him getting a ton of rebounds, doesn't show him, hitting free throws. But when you watch the game, and this is kind of the thing that, the narrative that surrounds Rudy Gobert, it's like you got those people that watch the box score after the end of the game and oh, Rudy Gobert had 2 points. He had no blocks and he couldn't make free throws. Only 7 total rebounds. Rudy Gobert sucks. But when you actually watch the game, you'll see what he was able to do to Jokic. You'll see how he was able to handle the switches whenever they did force a switch. He's just been impactful. That's been the story pretty much his whole career. He's going to have his plays where you saw he got fouled on that layup, I think, where he missed point blank. I think he had a couple of them where he got bumped. and then you probably looking like, oh, this guy can't even make a dang layup. But obviously, it's not his game. But it's just he's just an easy player to hate on. Which I love to see that he played amazing. He impacted the game a lot. Which that's just not a flashy player. Gobert's not a flashy player. He never will be. He's not gonna inherit a 3-point shot. He's not gonna inherit a bag on offense. He's gonna keep playing defense, and he's gonna keep doing what he does. So, I love that. The whole bench was great. And then second unit. Oh my gosh, this is one of the best second unit games Minnesota could ask for. And as a Wolves fan, I love it. I thought last game we didn't play enough. Bones Highland only played 5 minutes last game. And if you're a Timberwolves fan, Bones get busy. That's why his nickname's Busy. Obviously, I'm actually not sure, but the team just flows better whenever he's in that second unit. Pushing the pace, getting some offense, sparking some. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes he might be inefficient. Sometimes he's just hitting every shot, it feels like, which last night was one of those games. I mean, Bones had 13 points in 10 minutes, and he missed 1 3, and that was ridiculous. So Ayo gave you a great game. Ayo gave you 9 points. Nas gave you 11. So 33 bench points from Minnesota. And that's why they acquired Ayo at the trade deadline. Kind of pushed the pace a little bit as well. And one thing about Ayo, he can get to the rim. And Denver doesn't have those shot blockers. Denver doesn't have those rim protectors, those bigs that can affect you with length, anything like that. So getting downhill in this series is very important. Early on in the game, you saw Minnesota kind of, getting a little lackluster, fall in love with the jump shot with the three. That's not Minnesota's game. Well, that is kind of, as a Wolves fan, that is Minnesota's game, but that's not how you're going to beat Denver. Denver wants to force you to shoot threes. They want you to bail them out. They'll live with it. They'll contest it. But if you're able to get Jokic in that pick and roll, well, we saw it. We saw it in the whole latter half of the second quarter. They were just going at Jokic and just getting downhill. Oh my gosh, barbecue chicken. Like he was just cooking them. And then you saw the same thing, Julius Randle, getting in it. I thought Julius did a good job on Jokic, even defensively a little bit. I thought Nas was obviously the weakest link out of those three bigs that guarded Jokic. You saw Jokic kind of come alive in in the third, because, obviously Nas didn't want to foul. Well, Nas had fouls to give, but you didn't keep fouling Jokic. Julius had 3 fouls. You didn't want him to get his 4th. Gobert just sat with 4 fouls. So it was a little bit tough there, but I think they did a great job overall. I mean, you only kept Jokic to 25 points? Let me double check. Jokic had 24 points. Obviously, he almost had his triple-double again, 8 assists shy, but it was just an overall great game from Minnesota defensively. And we're going to get into how Jokic and Murray kind of struggled in that fourth quarter. 4 combined points from Jokic and Murray in the fourth quarter. 4 combined points. And this Murray is up for Clutch Player of the Year. He's a finalist. I'm pretty sure he'll finish 3rd. I don't even know if they show the voting for Clutch Player of the Year, but I think SGA will end up winning it, even though Ant, he missed a lot of games. SGA had a couple great stretches. Anyways, I think, and then Jokic, he had 1 bucket in the clutch, obviously, and being in the fourth, that was against that was that dunk on Gobert. And then he had a couple plays where he was missing layups at the rim, trying to draw some contact, still the contact. It just wasn't working, which we'll get into the officials here in a little bit too. But yeah, just, they kind of left him alone at that 3-point line, forced him to be a 3-point shooter. This season in the clutch, Jokic isn't shooting well at all from 3. I think he's actually shooting maybe just a bit under 30% from 3 in the clutch. And then Murray, it just seemed like the whole Nuggets team was gassed the whole fourth quarter. Gordon didn't really give you much. He gave you 8 points. Christian Brown, he had a pretty solid game. 16 points from Christian Brown. You think, okay, Denver's going to win this game. Cam Johnson had a pretty solid game. Defensively, they were just no match. I mean, you seen Jaden McDaniels at the end of the game say, "Yeah, they're all bad defenders. They're all bad defenders." Which, I mean, some people might say, "Hey, he's giving a bulletin board material or whatnot." I mean, he's telling the truth, honestly. I mean, Denver's very bad defensively. I think they were ranked 21st, and which was worst out of all the playoff teams coming in, even in the play-in teams. Like you, like that's Charlotte included. They were a bad defense. So he basically said, yeah, that was the game plan. We went at Jokic, we went at Murray, Cam Johnson, Tim Hardaway, Aaron Gordon. Even though I don't think Aaron Gordon's a bad defender, but maybe he's a little bit hampered by that hamstring, um, or what was it, hamstring or calf string? I can't remember. But nonetheless, I mean, the Wolves took advantage of the Nuggets' struggles. They couldn't protect the rim. They had 52 points in the paint. And that just you can't win like that in the NBA. Well, sometimes you can, but the Nuggets, that's one thing that they want to kind of limit. And they kind of I feel like that's where they'll miss Peyton Watson. Peyton Watson was kind of their best rim protector, which is crazy. But I mean, the Nuggets have to figure out a way to get this series back, because the momentum's going into Minnesota. Minnesota game 3 on Thursday. That build is going to be rocking. KG might be back for that game. It's just going to be a fun game. They're going to be in that Black Trees uni, so it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see what happens there. I think officiating. We'll get into officiating. I think officiating is still bad. I mean, you saw Tony Brothers, they challenged the call. Jaden McDaniels had a fast break. I don't even think he blocked it. I don't think he blocked Christian Brown. I think he just affected him in a way that made Christian Brown miss. He kind of had his hand on the waist a little bit, but it wasn't really it was any, you know, big contact. It was really marginal. But then Tony Brothers reviews it because the Timberwolves challenged, and he said there's foot to knee contact. They showed the replay. There's no foot to knee contact. So I think that was, example of Tony Brothers. He didn't want to swallow his pride. So, but I think first half the officiating was terrible. I think both sides was pretty terrible, but I think it did lean a little more towards favoring Denver, just because. I mean, if you look at a couple of those, and they had 3-and-1 threes, 3 4-point plays in the first quarter. One of them I could say was reasonable, but they had 3. The other 2 was barely contact. And you think in the NBA, hey, this is playoffs. You saw last game, Finch is calling out the refs. Last game was really ticky-tack as well. They weren't letting Minnesota kind of be physical. Now you think, okay, first quarter, let them set the tone, let them get physical. They were doing the opposite. They was like, okay, y'all want to keep getting physical, a little too physical, handsy, whatever. We're going to call the whistle. We're going to blow this whistle until y'all get tired. Because the first half was like an hour and a half long. That's one of the longest first halves I've ever watched. So I do think officiating is gonna be interesting going into the rest of the series as well. I want to see a Mark Davis game. I want to see a Scott Foster game, honestly. Some refs who are gonna, they might have a couple controversial calls, but they're gonna let you play. They don't want to hear no crying, no whining, nothing like that. So, interested to see how that goes. But yeah, I think that was an overall great game by Minnesota. Classic comeback. 19 points. Something about Minnesota coming back down 19-20 against Denver in their own building. So it'll be a good series. Obviously, I'm a Wolves fan, so I think Minnesota will still pull the series out. But they just got to keep pressing the right buttons. Got to keep making shots and keep attacking Denver at the rim. Make them figure something out. Make them have to handicap themselves. So